Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube, Diggy546? Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. The past couple of days, the Giants have been on a complete roller coaster as far as the offensive line goes. There have been rumors saying that Rashaan Slater could be the pick, not necessarily what the Giants are looking towards, but we were pretty sure that Rashaan Slater will be there. And then we see his draft stock going up, and then his draft stock goes up so much, and the Bengals are, rumored to take Jamar Chase, that we're thinking that maybe there's a small chance that Penei Sewell could be there at 11. And I don't think that that's going to happen. I never really believed that, but there was a small chance, and there's still a tiny chance that he could possibly be there, which will be a home run draft pick, and it will be nothing to discuss. But it seems like now, especially with the Panthers trading that pick, and they very well could go Rashaan Slater, and the best player on the draft might be a receiver or Parsons or wherever you want to go, whatever direction you want to go in at that 11th spot. We might have to look at offensive line second round, and I'm thinking that the interior offensive line is obviously where we would have to be looking. And I have a few names that I've been looking at. First is going to be Wyatt Davis. Wyatt Davis is someone that's probably going to go between the late, mid to late 20s to the top 10, 11 picks of the second round. So he could pretty much go anywhere as far as end of the first round, early second round. And if he's there, I think he's a slam dunk pick. Another person I think is a slam dunk pick is a Creed Humphrey. Both of those guys can be plug and play starters. Wyatt Davis will be a right guard. Creed Humphrey, of course, will be a center. And there's a question about if we want to move a guy like Creed Humphrey to guard. Now, it will probably be right guard he will play. And most of that is because people like Nick Gates at center right now, although he did look good at guard. But I would like for Nick Gates to continue to develop. But the draft just seems so deep at center that you almost don't want to move these guys. You almost want to just have a plug and play center here and just move Nick Gates over. I think it's easier to move Nick Gates over than to move a rookie over to a position that they have not really played in college. So I think there's a lot of flexibility on the interior of the offensive line. And if you're a good guy at center, you're probably going to be at least decent at guard. But if you're drafting somebody, you're pretty much projecting that that's the position that they're going to play. And anything other than that is you're pretty much just making assumptions. You don't have enough information to make that decision. So those are a couple of guys, Wyatt Davis, Creed Humphrey. And then another criticism of Creed Humphrey is that he's a left-handed center. So obviously the ball will be spinning the other way while he snapped it. Now, I don't really care about that, but that's something that DJ would have to get used to. Another guy, Quinn Meinerz, is a D3 center that really got his stock really shot up once the Senior Bowl happened. He was someone who, like I said, is a D3 center, and he just dominated. And if you look at his tape, he just is a nasty, mean center. He is someone who, I think he played a little bit of guard. I might be wrong. I've seen mostly his highlights. I've seen some tape of him at guard, but he's a guy I think has that position flexibility, can play either one, is a hard-nosed guy, one of those guys with a big belly who just is an offensive lineman through and through. And you're never going to be against having a guy like this on your team. So Quinn Miners is someone that could be there. I think we would have to take him in the third round. I don't think the value is there in the second round, but he's someone to consider. Another guy to consider is Landon Dickerson in the second round. He's someone that I really like. He has that tenacity and the nastiness of a Quinn Miners, but he is probably a little bit bigger, definitely stronger. I think he's a little bit more technically sound. And on top of that, he's got the Alabama pedigree. The only problem with a Landon Dickerson is that he's had way too many injuries. I think he's had 4 season-ending injuries so far, and that is a red flag for an offensive lineman. You want those guys to be consistent, especially at the center position. You need that guy to be consistent because he's making all the calls that the quarterback isn't making. So you need that guy to be there every single week. And for him to have had all of those season-ending injuries and then that injury in the championship game, that's a little bit concerning. But if you can promise that this guy is healthy, I have him as my number one center over Creed Humphrey, and I would have him as a first-round pick, probably to the Steelers. But looking at some more of these guys, you also have to remember Deonte Brown. He's someone that got brought up a couple of months ago, and he had a pretty bad Senior Bowl, but he didn't give up a sack in his last year in college. He is someone that was 360 pounds in college. Now he's around 330-something, 340, probably still 340. So he's showing that he's dedicated to losing weight, to being a guy who can be a consistent guy who, who's not going to be tired when he plays an entire game. So he's gotten his weight down, and I think that's going to help his lateral movement better. He's still going to maintain that power at, 330, 340. That power isn't going to be a problem. And he's someone that's just a gargantuan person. Even when you lose weight, when you shed weight from that frame, he's still such a big body kind of guy that it'll translate over to even, at a smaller weight. As long as he doesn't go down to 320, he's still going to be a big dude, and he plays physically. He moves people consistently. And I think a lot of that is pretty much baby fat. He's a young college kid, and he shed pretty much some baby fat. He's going to maintain most of that strength. And again, Alabama pedigree, playing beside Landon Dickerson and playing beside another guy, Alex Leatherwood, who's a tackle that may be able to play right tackle for us or may be able to slide into guard. But he will be someone I would kind of consider as a last resort type of situation. I mean, if he's there in the second round, I would definitely consider it because I think the value might be there to get, maybe a right tackle in that second round. If Rashaan Slater and Penei Sewell are gone and you don't want to lean towards an AVT, by the way, I have his film session up. Go check that. But if you don't want to go into a direction of an AVT, Elijah Vera Tucker, and you don't have those other linemen there, then you're probably going to have to lean towards some of these day 2, day 3 picks. And luckily for the Giants, the interior of the offensive line is a strength in this draft, just as receiver is a strength in this draft, just as linebacker is a strength in this draft. And I will have a video about linebackers coming out in the next couple of days. Second, third round, even fourth round linebackers that I think we should target. But there's a wealth of guys. You look at guys like Ben Cleveland, a guard in that, we can get in the third or fourth round. There are a ton of names on the interior. So please, Giants fans, do not panic if Rashaan Slater and Penei Sewell go off the board before we pick, because there's a ton of other interior offensive linemen that we could go in the direction of. And again, I will be putting out a ton of interior offensive line videos, maybe a couple more tackle videos too, just in case we end up, trading back and lining up with one of those picks. But look out for that. And other than that, I mean, we should be in a great spot. When this draft comes around, we should be in a great spot, because looking at the position that we've put ourselves in, I would say our dire need is probably at right guard. We don't have a solidified starter there. We're not necessarily sure about Lemieux. Right tackle will be a competition between Parrott, Nate Solder, and if we were to draft a Rashaan Slater or a Penei Sewell. Other than that, they would end up playing guard. So I think the issue is right guard. And right guard, a starting caliber right guard, can be found in the second or third round. So I'm just making this video to let you guys know not to panic. We will get that starting guard in these first couple of rounds of the draft. I'm very sure of it. We will get that linebacker. We will get that receiver in the first 4 rounds. I'm very sure of it. We can pretty much go whichever direction we want to go because of what we've done this offseason. But I know that we probably will come out of this draft with a starting level right guard. So if you made it this deep into the video, I'm calling you a D6 squad member. If you're a D6 squad member, you got to hit that subscribe button. You got to turn on that notification bell. And listen, I make all kinds of content for NFL teams. So if you're not a Giants fan, don't worry. I'll cover your team. If I'm not covering your team, let me know. And have a good one.